Hi, it's Mrs. Ocasio. I'm so glad you're here. We're having our little discussion. I don't know if you want to call it a webinar, a mini podcast, or just a talk. Hopefully you're here because you've seen my little mini series that I did on hope. There was 5 or 6 of them that kind of talked a little bit about defining hope and how we feel about hope. And so this is kind of the more in-depth version of hope. The first thing I wanted to say is that, like a lot of us, when we think of hope, we have a very nice expression, and we say things like, I hope things work out for you. I hope this year is better, since this is January. People are saying, hope you have a great year, or Happy New Year. I hope this and I hope that. Or I hope you get what you want. And those are such nice, well-meaning phrases. And I'm definitely not telling you I want you to stop saying those nice things. They're so well-meaning. But the first thing that I wanted to say about hope is that hope is not a wish or a dream or something that that we say when we want good things to happen. So we want to make sure that we're defining hope is more than just a feeling or like a magical type wish. And that is the first thing. And we'll get to the next thing in like a minute. Sorry about that. I have a little bit of a technical issue here. So back to what we were saying. Hope is not a wish. Hope is actually a mindset, okay? It's a way of thinking about things that helps us to be able to accomplish our goals and get what we want out of life. But it's more just than like a fleeting thought or something that we would wish that would happen. It is more intentional than just that. It's one that shapes how we live in the present moment and helps us, the mindset, to be positive moving forward towards our goal. So it's very important to know that it's not a feeling. It's more of like a mindset. And we know a mindset is something that's much more long lasting. I know that we've talked about growth mindset before in the past. So there's definitely a more intentional way of thinking about hope. Okay, so hope is not the same as optimism. Optimism is a really great thing, and optimism can be very positive. When we move forward and we just kind of are wishing that things turn out okay. And there are, small daily things as far as like moving forward and just kind of thinking that something small is going to be okay because it usually is a wonderful way of looking things. But it doesn't need like an ideal situation to have hope be part of like our mindset. Hope doesn't even need to have certainty. We don't have to know exactly how things are going to unfold for us to go ahead and have hope. There's another thing that hope says. Okay, so this is something that is a very good quote about hope. I don't know exactly how this will unfold, but that's okay. And I'm willing to engage with the process, okay? Because life is a process, and a lot of the things in life are unpredictable, and we just don't know how things are going to turn out. But hope makes us have the mindset that we're okay to keep moving forward and see how things unfold. So one of the hard parts and more difficult things about hope is that hope gives us the assured expectation that things are going to happen for us in the future, but we live in the present moment. We don't live in the future. Do we have to plan and think about the future? Yes, this is true. But the moment that we have could be uncomfortable, but we have to realize that that part is only temporary and the stage is somewhat incomplete, but the process itself is actually meaningful. Okay? Very much how, like I say, becoming who you're meant to be. All right? It makes it so that we're okay with being who we are now until we get to the person that we would like to be or how we foresee things for us. So being able to live in the present and live grounded is very important with having hope. And sometimes this just requires patience and to have some acceptance that we are living in the present moment and being able to stay grounded. And sometimes meditation can help with that. Also being thankful for the small things in life and the fact that we're alive and breathing and we're able to enjoy life helps us with this. The next thing I want to talk about is patience, okay? So patience is an act of hope, okay? So the waiting that is involved with waiting for things to materialize as far as hope is actually, they say patience is a virtue, but it's very integral in having hope. I have another quote for you that has to do with patience and hope. And this one is that I trust that growth is happening even when I can't see it clearly. So when we leave patience behind, we actually leave ourselves behind. We abandon ourselves when we throw patience away and we get frustrated. We need to stay with the learning process. We need to be able to handle discomfort. All right, discomfort is part of life, is part of the process. Being able to be okay with feeling some uncertainty and maybe having some feelings that don't feel positive at the moment. We might feel, uncomfortable with uncertainty, but that's also part of the process. And lastly, to keep staying engaged instead of giving up prematurely. This always makes me think of driving. Like when you're driving and you're trying to find the direction to where you're going. And I've done this before too. You go through a couple signal lights, you're almost at your destination. Maybe you're following your GPS, maybe you're not. But if you give up before you get to your destination and you feel that you're lost or you have to go back, or maybe you think you passed it or it's not exactly where you thought it would be, sometimes it's just down the road, just a little bit more. So having patience while we're on the road to discovery and going through life is very important. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about as far as hope is that we need to have hope because sometimes life isn't a bowl of cherries. Sometimes we have difficult times and we need to have perseverance and resilience, and we need to be able to navigate going through hard situations. Setbacks happen. All right. Opposition sometimes appears. Sometimes if we don't have the right support systems in place, you know how they say that sometimes not everybody is a cheerleader for us. Sometimes we might even find people who are uncomfortable with like the growth process that we're having. They're uncomfortable with seeing us change and not be the person that they expected to. So we have to be able to get through those times and persevere. Perseverance helps you keep moving. All right, even when motivation fades, okay? Sometimes we have to take those steps when we don't exactly feel motivated to be able to reach our goals. Resilience helps you recover when something doesn't go as planned. And when things don't go as planned or things change, I know there's a lot of people who say, I just don't do change. That's when resilience kicks in, when that we're okay with things might not come out exactly as we planned, but we're okay to just keep on moving forward and having hope and trust in that we will see the fruits of our labor. We will be able to get to the finish line. It's just sometimes things are going to hit a few road bumps along the way. So you will find when you're working with hope, all right, and hope in practice works very well with the Ocasio goal setting system. Hope is not a passive system, okay? Hope gives you the emotional fuel to begin when you might be having a hard time getting started. And it also gives us a mindset and helps us stay present and grounded in the moment that we're in. And it also gives us the patience to be able to slow down in the process and wait for things to unfold. It helps give us resilience because there will be setbacks, okay? Nothing is perfect and we will make mistakes. There will be hardships along the way And these will all be learning experiences. Sometimes it's just perspective. It might not even be a hardship. It actually might be just a little bit of a turn in what our plans were, a little bit of navigating a different path. And then it gives us the perseverance to follow through. These things are very, very important. We know that if we have goals, like through the Ocasio goal setting system, and we don't have hope, it just becomes to feel like pressure. Having goals to accomplish things and not having hope really feels like pressure, okay? And pressure is not something that we want to go through life with. Pressure is stress, all right? So hope helps us to reach our goals and not feel like we're under pressure all the time. Okay, so just to kind of reiterate some of the things that we talked about when we talked about what hope is not. All right, hope is not like a wish or like a fleeting feeling, okay? So hope is the assurance that doesn't ignore reality, but works within a system of reality. It doesn't rush the process, but it respects that it is a process, and it doesn't demand for things to be perfect. Things don't have to be perfect, but it just allows us growth, okay? So all those things are true of hope, but there's also a point that I want to talk to about hope, and that is about, again, that hope is very personal. So I'm going to go in depth and talk a little bit about hope and how it's personal. So hang on, because this last part of the video is going to be very, very important. Okay, so hope is very personal in that hope can be very different for a lot of people depending on what your belief system is. A lot of times when we use the words like hope and we talk about faith and we talk about spirituality, it's very personal because it can be very different for each of us. Our belief systems, how we feel about worship and religion and spirituality can all be different. And coming to talk to me here in the Ocasio goal setting system, in my coaching, and even on this channel, if you're watching this video, I believe in diversity, I believe in inclusion, and I feel like everyone should feel like they belong. So no matter what your belief system is, it's very important that you realize your belief system shouldn't ignore reality. It has its own truth. It has different ways of believing in different higher powers, depending on what your religious beliefs are and how it's grounded. And I think it's very important to realize that there's not one acceptable, true way of doing things, that in order to be inclusive, include everyone, we got to look, in that hope as far as a belief system. And if we're looking towards reassurance or a belief system that it's going to be very different for everyone, it's important that we all feel like that we belong and that we respect everybody's belief. But we know that many systems that talk about hope are grounded in other people's like religious faith or spiritual practices. And it is more than acceptable. And some people do it automatically to incorporate your thoughts on hope and faith and the goals that you set according to your own belief systems. Okay, I would like to conclude with a very, very important message from Mrs. Ocasio regarding hope. And this is that healthy hope respects autonomy, time, personal boundaries. It invites engagement, and it doesn't demand that we surrender our belief systems and our thoughts over to someone else. Hope is meant to support growth and not suspend critical thinking. And there's a way to hold all these things true and still be able to have the benefits of having hope throughout our goal setting system. And I look forward to having more conversations about this in the future. And if you liked this video, make sure that you like, subscribe, put your comments in the comment section. And I look forward to meeting with you, everyone, and discussing more about hope, love, and peace in the coming year. Have a good day.